Bruce Blakeman is the Nassau County executive seeking another term. Now, it might be for 4 years or it could be for 3 years. Now, what's with that?
So the case was argued in the State Court of Appeals. They have yet to render a decision. We claim that it's unconstitutional under the state constitution. We'll see what the Court of Appeals does.
So what we're talking about is the fact that the state passed a law that wants to have all the elections be in President even years, not odd years like 2025. So you say it's legal or it's not legal. How do you want it to be?
Well, first of all, it's unconstitutional. Second of all, it's bizarre because can you imagine how long the ballot will be if you now put local races on? And what's going to happen to local issues? They're going to get drowned out in national issues and state issues. It's going to be hard to get on TV. It's going to be hard to get space in newspapers. So we feel that it's unconstitutional. We feel that it is just purely political because Nassau and Suffolk County have trended so Republican in the last couple of years, and it's a way to try and defeat local candidates.
So if the Court of Appeals, which leans sort of Democratic, upholds it, would you and your fellow Republicans think of going to the Supreme Court?
We would probably at that point go to federal court because we think there are also federal constitutional issues, and we would argue those issues concerning the people's right to be heard and, of course, what we feel is rigging or trying to rig elections, local elections.
So changing political topics for a little bit, I'm also wondering about your feelings about the political discourse that we've been dealing with over the last several weeks, especially political violence, the killing of Mr. Kirk, and how you feel this is shaking out in the country.
Well, I think that public debate is very important, and I think it should be done in a respectful way without name calling. I try not to get engaged in that kind of stuff because it doesn't help with your arguments. Actually, I think it detracts from your arguments when you are pejorative with your opponent. The killing of Charlie Kirk is a disgrace. Charlie Kirk was someone who was going on to campuses and telling a different point of view. As we know, the universities around the United States, they're all far left leaning. The professors are 93% woke. And he was coming onto campuses and actually debating and interacting with people he would invite up to the microphone who had different points of view, but they would debate and talk. And his assassination is incredibly sad and tragic.
But you're a politician who have not shied away from taking some controversial positions. Are you personally afraid for your own safety?
No, I don't do anything foolish, but I'm somewhat of a fatalist. I think that you have to go out there and live your life. So I'm not concerned. I take each day as it comes, and I don't worry about it. I'm in this for the fight. I'm in to fight for the future of our county and the young people that are coming up, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren to come, and I think it's a battle worth fighting.
How do you change the discourse so that people actually talk and respect each other's views without making it a personal thing where they want to hurt you?
Well, I think both sides need to stop the name calling. For instance, my opponent basically stood with people who were calling me a brown shirt, which, as we know, is a Nazi stormtrooper. And considering that I'm Jewish, I think that's a terrible insult. And I was shocked that he would do that. I would never engage in that type of language. I debate very vigorously on the issues, but name calling is something that I have not engaged in.
Are you concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism?
It's a major problem. It's a major problem in the United States. It's a major problem here in New York City. And I have to tell you that we have 300,000 people who identify themselves as being Jewish in Nassau County. And our police department under Patrick Ryder, our commissioner, who does an outstanding job. He was just in Israel training with the Israeli National Police, the Mossad, and the Shin Bet. And we are doing everything we can to keep everybody safe. When there's an attack on a mosque in New Zealand, I up the security in all the mosques in Nassau County. We treat everybody the same. We want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to express themselves and to engage in freedom of religion without the fear of being attacked.
Well, you said that you were also concerned about the rise of anti-Semitism in New York City, which the hate crimes unit has reported a huge increase. Do you think that's at all related to the fact of the aggressive mayoral campaign that New York City is now undergoing?
Well, the Democratic Party nominated a virulent anti-Semite who's a communist. His values are completely antithetical to American values. I am shocked that the Democratic Party could nominate someone who is so far out of the mainstream. And I'm hoping and praying that he's not elected mayor, because it's certainly going to make my job a lot harder in Nassau County, because we depend a lot on our cooperation with the NYPD. We share a lot of intel, a lot of information, and we also exchange assets with the NYPD, who do a great job. But I'm very concerned about his candidacy and the prospects that he might become mayor.
Well, let me ask you this question. I want to point out that he's a democratic socialist, but the question is this. Do you think that his desire to change the police department and the kinds of things that they respond to could imperil the cooperation efforts that you now have between your police department and the NYPD?
Absolutely, Marcia. That is a major concern because, as I said, we depend on law enforcement cooperation with federal, state, and local levels. And NYPD is the largest police department in the United States. We're the 10th largest municipal police department in the United States. And we share intel, we share information, we share assets. If they need assets, we give it to them. And I just worry about my detectives coming into an investigation in New York City, how they will be treated. I'm worried about the information that we'll receive from NYPD under a Mandami administration, whether it be accurate. And I would be very worried about sharing information with the NYPD and giving them sensitive information. So we love the men and women of the NYPD, and we have a great working relationship with them, but we're very concerned if the leadership changes and they go to this far-left extreme position that they've taken, where basically they're pro-criminal.
But here's the other thing. You know, the NYPD now has a different policy regarding immigrants, illegal immigrants, or undocumented immigrants, than you do in Nassau County. Nassau County police are allowed to train with ICE agents. Are you worried about that, the fact that you would have different goals having to do with illegal immigration?
Well, we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing in Nassau County. We are the first county in America to fully cooperate with ICE, with both our sheriff's department and our police department. And we're seeing material benefits. Crime is going down. And the people who are most happy with our policy are Hispanic Americans, because it's their schools that would be overcrowded. It's their neighborhoods that would see an increase in crime. So I have tremendous support from the Hispanic American community.
So speaking of Mr. Mamdani, there's been a spate of endorsements over the past week for his campaign. Governor Hochul became the first one, but also Carl Hastie, the Speaker of the State Assembly. How do you view that, and how do you view that, how those policies could then impact you in Nassau County as you're looking for different kinds of programs from Albany than the mayor of the city of New York?
Well, I think Governor Hochul's endorsement was a stab in the back. I think that she is supporting somebody that, again, is antithetical to American values. He is anti-capitalism, and he's somebody that basically is a virulent anti-Semite. And I think that he's very dangerous to New York City. And the fact that the governor of this state would back somebody with such extreme views, I think, is very troubling.
Well, see, one of the things he wants to do, as you know, is tax the rich, which could affect, if it would have to be passed statewide, it could affect people who live in your county. How do you feel about that?
Well, we're already seeing an influx of people from New York City into Nassau County because we're the safest county in America. Our restaurants are as good as any place, including New York City. We've got great shopping. We've got beautiful beaches. And we have a very diverse community. We have every race, religion, ethnic group, people of all abilities, people of all lifestyles. And we get along because we are respectful, we are kind, and we are generous, and we are a compassionate county. And basically, I think we're a model for the rest of the country.
But if she were to pass taxes to tax the rich, or one of the other policies of Mr. Mamdani, which is to increase the top rate on corporations, what effect would that have on Nassau County? And are you worried about outmigration?
I'm not worried in Nassau County because right now our housing prices and values are one of the highest in the country, and they keep going up. There were 50 counties, the top 50 populated counties in the United States. 45 had a decrease in their home values. Nassau County was one that had an increase. People are leaving the city to move to Nassau County. They'll move to Nassau County, or they'll move to Suffolk County, or they'll move to Westchester, or they'll move to Florida or South Carolina or North Carolina. People who have money can leave. It's the middle class who I'm worried about because they don't have the same options that rich people have.
Yeah, but if the rich people leave, it's going to mean fewer congressional seats, fewer money, and things like that.
Those are big problems, and I do worry about that. But we are preparing in Nassau County for the prospect that Mamdani may get elected, and we will take measures to ensure the vitality, both economically and also the safety of the county. So basically, we are very aware of what's going on in our neighboring counties of Queens and Brooklyn and Manhattan, Staten Island, and the Bronx.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We are back with Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. Well, I know that you are running for re-election, and we haven't talked about your opponent, Seth Kozlow. One of the things I wanted to ask you about was his statements that women sometimes who claim rape, that it's a fantasy rape because that would make them more desirable. What is going on?
It's bizarre. My opponent, Seth Kozlow, wrote a law journal article basically saying that we should water down laws that protect women, excuse me, when they've been raped. Basically, he said that women make up stories about being raped because they desire or fantasize to be raped. And I'm running a commercial right now with two sisters who, their sister, Sarah Good, was brutally raped and murdered. And they are completely outraged that he would say that. And this is a guy who, he actually represents criminals. That's what he does to make a living. And he tries to expunge their records, which means that they're taking away an important law enforcement tool, being able to know the criminal history of people. So he's somebody that is just reckless.
Well, he also said on this show that he could run the government of Nassau County much more efficiently than you can, and that he can do it for half the price or some number like that. Yeah,
well, look, let's take our record of achievement since I came into office. We haven't raised taxes in 4 years, even though inflation's gone up over 20%. We've gotten 7 bond upgrades. That's unprecedented from the Wall Street rating agencies. And the state comptroller of New York State, Tom DiNapoli, a Democrat, just did a fiscal stress test on Nassau County and found us to be excellent. So we have a tremendous record of achievement, even in spite of the fact that I've hired 600 new law enforcement officers. We're the safest county in America, and our home values are going up. We have economic prosperity. Our gross domestic product is larger than 126 nations in the United Nations. I think we're doing pretty good.
So how do you feel about the idea of the National Guard coming to New York?
Well, I think that in New York City, they could potentially use that if, in fact, the mayor, the new mayor, is not willing to enforce the law. I think NYPD is eminently qualified to do the job. They have the resources. They have great personnel. But if the mayor won't let them do their job, then, of course, I think it's appropriate for the federal government to step in and make sure that we have safe communities. Everybody wants a safe community. You don't want your kids and your grandkids to live in communities that are unsafe.
But yet the president has sort of indicated that that might be the case. So if Mr. Mamdani were to become the mayor of the city of New York, what would you say to him, because you do talk to him from time to time, about whether the National Guard should come here?
What I would say to President Trump is that if it becomes a problem that could spill over into Nassau County, and the mayor of the city of New York is not enforcing the law, and he's telling his police officers to stand down and ignore crime, then I think it would be appropriate for the president to step in.
So one of the issues that has appealed to many people in New York City about Mr. Mamdani is the affordability issue, and that, you know, people just don't have the money to be able to afford to live in our area. Nassau County is certainly an expensive place to live as well. Do you think that affordability is something that should get more attention?
Absolutely. It's something that concerns me because obviously we want to keep our middle class. We want to attract young people to live in Nassau County. So affordability is something that needs to be worked on, but you don't do it by making everything free and not letting people have the obligation to pay for things. What you do is you create economic prosperity. You create better jobs, higher paying jobs, jobs with better benefits, so that the middle class can keep up with inflation and that young people have an opportunity to live a life that, quite frankly, our parents and our grandparents left for us.
Do you think that the governor's decision to back Mr. Mamdani made her more vulnerable when she seeks re-election?
I think it makes her extremely vulnerable because most people realize that Mamdani is someone who's an extremist. And now they're questioning Governor Hochul's policies. And as we've seen in the past, the governor has a problem with leadership. She worries constantly about her political standing to the extent that she's paralyzed, and she acts in ways that basically show that she's desperate. She's desperate because she doesn't have the support from the lunatic fringe of her party. And she's desperate because she doesn't have common sense Democrats backing her. So she takes these extremist views that hurt her politically, but more importantly, they hurt us governmentally.
Do you think that she needs the support of the left of center part of her party?
No, not if she led and was firm and willing to do the things that are necessary to make this a safer state, a more affordable state, a more prosperous state. And she hasn't done any of those things over the last 4 years.
Well, you know, I had this conversation with Tom Suozzi because he was defending Democrats, and I said to him, people are have difficult time with some Democrats because of this tax and spend policies. Do you think that things have to change in Albany in terms of how they fund things and how they spend money?
Absolutely. And their choices on how they spend money. So they've spent probably $10 billion on illegal migrants when we have hospitals that need money, we have infrastructure that needs money, we have schools that need money. This is all money that's been taken away from critical resources that the government's supposed to provide.
But yet there is the fact that we do have the Statue of Liberty in the waterway. And we have been a community and a country, and it's certainly a state where we've welcomed immigrants. I mean, a lot of people have relatives who came here for the first time, either this generation or several generations ago. So aren't we, by going against these immigrants, going against our own belief that we should be welcoming people to our shores?
That's a very good question. I am pro-immigrant, but it has to be done the right way and legally. And for those who have been here for quite some time, who may have started a family here, I think there should be a guest worker program for them. I think there should be a path for them to become legal and for them to be able to work and pay taxes and not throw people out like that, people who are actually contributing to society and contributing to the economy. And we need some workers from other places because we have some issues staffing various types of businesses. So I was very happy to see that President Trump mentioned the fact that we need to get a common sense approach to these people who are here. They've overstayed their visa and they have families and they've contributed to society. They pay taxes, they're working, they're gainfully employed. I would like to see a guest worker program. We need the people in Washington to start presenting common sense solutions.
But they haven't so far, and it's all been very anti-immigrant. So I guess I would ask you this question. What's the reasonable amount of time that people should say that they've been here in order to be qualified for the guest worker program or a green card or citizenship?
So I would say people who came here in the last 4 years under the open border policies of Biden and Harris, we haven't vetted them. We don't know anything about them. They came here seeking asylum. I find it hard to believe that 10 million people needed asylum. We know that other countries have emptied their jails and sent them here. So I would not give any preference to those people. But let's say you overstayed your visa 10 years ago. You're living in a community. You met somebody. You have a spouse now. You had children. They're in school. You're gainfully employed. Let's find a way to keep them. Let's find a way to make sure that they can continue to live their lives here. I think you have to be someone who's compassionate and someone who's reasonable and realistic. You got to use common sense, and I think that's a common sense approach.
So I want to talk to you about an unusual topic, AI. A friend of mine recently went through LaGuardia Airport and went to buy something. And when he went into the store, he had to put his credit card in a reader. He went around the store, picked up some stuff, and said, it was coming out and said, how do I pay? AI was able to determine everything that he bought, and as he went out, his credit card was charged for the amount of things. Is that something that you see coming to more places, including Nassau County, and what will that do in terms of employment and the need for people to have jobs?
Well, I think there's a legitimate concern that AI could displace a lot of people in employment, and I think we need to figure out how we keep people employed with AI. We're not going to stop AI. AI is something that has many, many benefits, but it also has some negative aspects of it, and employment is one of it. If you have machines and robots that can do everything that a human being can do, well, what's going to be left for human beings to do? So I think we need to figure that out, and I think that basically it's something that is a concern to me because, you know, I have young kids and grandchildren now, and I worry about what their future will be like.
So let's talk about Penn Station. Governor Hochul said it was a big, big win when she got President Trump to take over building Penn Station, that she would save $7 billion. Is that a good thing for New York, and do you think it'll be built more efficiently because the federal government's taking over?
I think it's a good thing that the federal government's taking over, because I don't think that the MTA and Amtrak have the ability to complete the project in a timely and cost-efficient way. But more importantly, I want to thank President Trump for stepping in and averting the Long Island Railroad strike. I think that was very important, because now they have a period of time to be able to negotiate and avoid a strike, which would be crippling on the economy.
Do you think you'll be able to do that? I mean, the unions are asking for an awful lot of money.
I believe in collective bargaining. I believe in negotiation. And I think that if you work really hard at it, I resolved 4 contracts. I was left 4 open contracts when I became county executive. I resolved all of those contracts. You just got to sit down and negotiate and find some common ground, and understand that you'd love to give your employees everything. And I love my employees. They do a great job. But you have to be reasonable, and you have to look at what can the taxpayers afford.
Last topic, the ever-popular Massapequa Chiefs, and the push in our country to stop naming teams for Indians or other people like that. How do you feel about that? I mean, there are a lot of towns in Nassau County that are named for Indians: Wantagh, Massapequa, different places. So should we be changing names because of the roots of the people?
No, absolutely not. I think naming the Massapequa teams the Chiefs is a compliment to Native Americans. I think Wantagh, calling them warriors, is a compliment to Native Americans. You are saying that if you are a chief, you're a great leader. If you're saying you're a warrior, you're courageous. I don't see anything that's negative in that. I think it's ridiculous that the governor would interject herself in that. We have much more important educational issues than the name of the Chiefs or the Warriors. It's been that way for a long time. Stay out of it. Let the local school districts decide what their nicknames are. It's just bizarre to me that she's worried about little mascots and not worried about the important issues in education.
Bruce Blakeman, Nassau County Executive, hoping to run for another term. We don't know there's 3 or 4. But thank you for coming, and thank you at home for watching us as well.